Sean here, CEO of Talk2 and co-host of this podcast. We don't normally do this, but on some of the episodes moving forward, we're going to be introducing some ads before, during, and at the end of each episode. We promise we'll keep things short, but my company Talk2 has been saving veterinarians like you time every day. And I wanted to share some testimonials from our users. Listen to them or fast forward. We'll be sure to keep it brief.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Sean Wilkie, and along with my awesome host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, please get us started.
Hey, I'm Ivan Zach, and I'm excited to introduce Dr. Sonya Gordon. Dr. Sonya Gordon is a professor of cardiology and the Eugene Chen's Chair in Cardiology at Texas A&M University College of Veterinary Medicine and Biomedical Science. As an academic veterinary cardiologist, Dr. Gordon spends a significant portion of her time practicing clinical veterinary medicine. This hands-on experience directly fuels her research, allowing her to address practical questions in veterinary cardiology that are particularly relevant to primary care veterinarians. She has published manuscripts, book chapters, and textbook. Her interests and expertise in teaching have led to many invitations to organize and participate in continuing education events for veterinarians and veterinary cardiologists globally. Dr. Gordon considers College Station, Texas home and shares her life with her husband, 3 dogs, and 2 cats. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sonya.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I too am a fan of innovation.
Okay, well, let's dive into that. So, we're going to talk a little bit of a very popular topic. I don't know who is not talking about the AI tools these days. And how does AI enter the academia these days?
Oh my, I think there are so many ways, and I think we're just beginning to realize some of the impact these tools can have. And that's what they are, they're tools. I think some people become nervous about AI because they think it's going to replace us, but it's not. It just makes us better. So I think it can be used in teaching, in seeing medical cases, in record keeping, and diagnostic testing.
So, I have a question as a professor at the university. How did that affect student life at this point? Because when I went to vet school, I had a Palm Pilot, if anybody remember that. That's how old I am. And I thought I was cheating that I had this device. I had the entire 5 minute consult in it, and I was as proud as the person could be with a Palm Pilot in 2003. So now with AI, Chat GPT, and all the information that we have available at hand, do you think it's affecting students' ability to consume information and then retain it? Or is it more a form of cheating these days and you're against it?
So it's funny. I love sitting and talking to my students about this, the ones that come to fourth year. And I said, well, how is it changing? I mean, they really like the summary tools like Scholarcy, whether you're looking to summarize a lecture or summarize a manuscript. And then, of course, these tools also allowed you, they were giving me the names of other ones, would generate test questions so they could quiz themselves on the content. I mean, I think anything that gets a student to interact with content in a way that they find palatable is a win, right? I can't make all learning fun or a game, but there are actually now people who talk about how to turn learning into gaming, right? So I think they're enjoying it.
That's amazing. And what do you think is the biggest impact on their ability to learn? Is it by gamifying the learning experience, or is it by reducing some of the mental load that they normally would have had without that experience?
I think it's probably efficiency. I think the most valuable commodity is time right now for everybody. And trying to find the time to do the things you want to do, which means probably making everything you do efficient, especially work related. So I think the fact that they can use a tool to help summarize something into a digestible format, and then they can go back and look at the original content. I think it's really about efficiency and that it's giving them more control over how they interact with the content.
I have a question on the tools that are helping us to do medical records. So companies such as Sean's, Talkative, and others that help to create the medical records. And I'm also very interested in governance and different frameworks around veterinary medicine, such as was telemedicine is a big topic. This is a big topic now. Do you think that medical records put through this scribe software are as relevant as those that were typed up, because we're in a small province in Canada, and I think that our governance here of our association is starting to question whether those are good for the industry or not. I'll tell you that for me, these scribe tools reinvented vet medicine again, and I want to be a vet again because of the medical records, I didn't want to. And then to me, the statement that they somehow inhibit the quality of medical records is interesting. What is your take on these particular tools?
So, as somebody who receives a lot of referrals and works with primary care veterinarians, I can tell you that if this person who thinks that the scribing is not making them better hasn't reviewed medical records very often, you only have to sit in that role to realize that things like finding the temperature or the body weight of the patient can be challenging, that most medical records in veterinary medicine were designed around billing, right? They weren't actually designed to be capturing medical data in a useful way. So I think that the scribing has, I mean, whether you use whichever tool you use, it allows us to capture content. And again, you can have a template that allows you to have it organized how you want to use it. This week, I taught my liaison how to use VetRec so that she could at least run all these records through that and get us a summary so that I didn't spend 17 pages of trying to find the dog's body weight. So I think, again, efficiency, are they perfect? Do they replace us? No. Do we still have to look at them? Yes. But I think it's going to make, like you said, wanting to be medical records are the bane of our existence, and you have to do them well. And we need to find easier ways to do things well.
Amen to that. Well, switching then on the diagnostic side of things, because I think that there's more controversial things there, especially in, I think, things like radiology. There's a lot of debate about it. And what are the AI tools that you welcome with open arms immediately? And which are the ones that you still think that there's maybe more validation or more human interaction required to actually use those?
So in my mind, the thing that would make me run to the hills is AI in a black box, right? I don't want a black box. I want it to annotate or do something for me that I can visually inspect and override, but it still saves me a lot of time. A measurement that is done well, and I don't have to move all the calipers around. And then the other thing about, and I'm going to speak to imaging here first, but a radiograph, for instance, and measuring the heart size on a radiograph, there's a variability in that human measurement that the AI tools don't have. We're actually presenting data on that. I mean, we know it's 100% precise. It's not perfect, but a lot of the AI tools, the precision makes it much more easy to start talking about longitudinal changes, which can be very important. So it brings things to the table, but it doesn't need supervision because it still makes mistakes. So you still have to look. So in a black box is what would make me nervous. Otherwise, I'm willing to start looking at any of it. And they still have to be validated. I mean, that's a big part of AI is to undergo appropriate the testing data and then the validation data sets.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really interesting point, Dr. Sonia, which is leaning into any tool. Let's not talk about technology. Let's just broaden it up. Leading into any tool and using them blind without education or experience just doesn't make sense. Like if you don't understand inches versus centimeters and you're using a measuring tape thinking that you're measuring in one, not the other, you're going to have problems. And so I think that there's this magical world in front of all of veterinary medicine, which is the AI assisted veterinarian, radiologist, cardiologist, you name the specialty, that's able to go just a little bit faster, is able to kind of like hypothesize just a little bit quicker, but then still has that burden of the medical record or the final decision. So, where do you see the assistance from various AI tools that you would say is the most exciting?
I think we're in the middle of it. I think it's just starting to explode, right? So I think the help with imaging, reading imaging, in my mind, I just read something on probably Medscape or something that was what AI will do to point of care ultrasound exams. I mean, I think it can think faster than us and it can see faster than us. And so it could help not only, it won't replace the hand on the probe, but it might help the eye looking at the picture, knowing the picture is the right picture to capture and measure. We know these things are all possible. So I think what's coming down the pipe is very exciting. What's currently in our hands are AI tools to measure radiographs. And then right now, the partnership between BI, Boehringer Ingelheim, and Echo Vet. So Echo, the human AI stethoscope, which is, FDA validated and is, very useful in the field. And now it's being sort of reworked for canine specifics called the Canine Beat that was announced recently in the press. And so I think audibly hearing murmurs is still a skill, and people don't have confidence sometimes. And so, again, it has the ability to not only maybe detect murmurs that we didn't know or grade them, but also improve the confidence of the veterinarian. Yeah.
That's great. It makes tons of sense and it's exciting. How do we prevent, or what exists to prevent people from leaning in too far and taking it, whatever you want to use the word it for, the radiograph, the medical record, as gospel without that burden of the veterinarian? How do you, as a teacher, prevent students from taking these diagnostic tool results that are generated by AI, other things that are generated from AI, and forgetting that it's their responsibility to ensure that record, that radiograph read is done with their oversight?
When you live near a body of water, you either learn how to swim or your parents scare you about the water so you never get in, right? And so I think we have to teach them how to use these tools and the confidence. And you're never going to be able to police people. Our job isn't to police them. Our job is to do really good validation of really good tools and talk about what their limits are. So, for instance, an AI stethoscope doesn't say that it diagnoses disease. It says it's a decision assistance tool, right? It's not to replace. So I think it's putting it in the scope. There's always going to be people that abuse everything. I can't fix that. I can educate.
Time is the most valuable resource in the veterinary field. For Dr. Roland Thaler, Talkatoo made a dramatic impact by giving him hours back each day without compromising the quality of his records. Take a listen to what he has to say.
That it's added back probably about 2 hours a day. It really has been quite dramatic. What changed was the efficiency of converting my handwritten notes into medical record with regard to accuracy and the reduction of time commitment. I couldn't recommend it high enough. It's literally saves me hours in a day.
Get full access to all of Talkatoo's powerful features for your first month for just $1. Sign up today at talkatoo.com/VIP. That's Talkatoo, TALKATOO.com/VIP.
That was my favorite. Before the AI, the previous startup that I built, it was calculating doses on a treatment sheet. So it was, SmartFlow was you punch in the weight of the patient, you give the medication, we have the dose stored in the database, and it gives you the volume to give because it's in 10 mgs per mil. And then I had this argument with the anesthesiologist, and she said, I don't want this to do it for me. And I said, why? And she said, because I want my students and, my nurses to calculate the dose themselves. And I said, how do they do that? And she says, well, with a calculator. Okay. So do they do it on paper? So that was an interesting kind of discussion, but they had this, natural rejection of it. And the same thing what I'm hearing about the radiology, it does make a lot of mistakes. I can't rely on it anytime, but it guides me and points. Sometimes I'm staring so much at this fracture that I don't see a ruptured bladder, or I see, things that I'm not anticipating to see because it points me towards them. And then I had this argument with a group of vets that we work with, and they said, well, we need a radiologist because this AI tool doesn't give you a radiologist. I said, why? They said, because we want liability to be on a particular person. I said, well, but it actually is not on radiologists because you're teleconsulting. So it's your license on this patient. You can believe or not believe the radiologist, but if you said that there's a foreign body and there's none, it's your license. So it's just this kind of outsourcing the responsibility. I think that's one thing, but it's just an interesting discussion overall. What I wanted to ask you is how to keep up. So this thing is snowballing faster than anybody can predict. And last time I was listening to another podcast, and the very high executive said, I have a person whose full time is to monitor what AI tools are coming out and how to apply them. What is your recommendation in vet medicine? How to keep up with the tools? Do you recommend anything to your students or colleagues?
I think everything is always sort of identifying the areas in which you're looking to get better or grow in, or that you need help in, right? And you never should change everything all at the same time, right? So if you're going to try to incorporate something new into your practice, you don't change everything. You say, geez, our medical records are like, that's hard. We need something to help capture conversations with clients. And, so we're going to look at investing in that. And so I think it's really about also being a little choosy about what would help you, right? A lot of these tools are for primary care veterinarians, not necessarily people like me.
Yeah, and that brings me to an interesting kind of maybe fork in the road. I see one of the things that you're involved in is a cardiac education group. Looks like a nonprofit. Looks like you're trying to help people in your sub or in your specialty remain educated. Why are you doing that? Is that just a passion project?
I mean, I say a lot of what I do is top down work. It's how do we raise the bar of veterinary care for the pet owner? And it doesn't matter how good I am at my job if I can't translate what I do to primary care veterinarians. And so I've had been fortunate to do a lot of clinical trial work, and very important discoveries are made like that. But you have to actually get it adapted and used in practice. And so the dissemination of the knowledge, the cardiac education group, is just another way for us to disseminate knowledge that helps change practice habits, which actually it lets you capitalize on the success of clinical trials, for instance, and research studies that are done.
Yeah, one to many education is better than one to one, isn't it? You can spread it a little bit faster. What's the most exciting thing that gets you out of bed when you're talking about going to do the things, the various things that you do? It seems like you're a pretty passionate person. Where's the number one passion for Dr. Sonya?
For work, work is I like coming to Texas A&M. I have great colleagues. I am so fortunate to be part of a really good team, and that we sort of have similar visions, slightly different passions that all mix together. So I get to play with students. I mean, I love sitting down and talking to them about medicine, but also about life a little bit, and their career aspirations. So I kind of get to be surrounded by 20 something year olds that are so passionate. And then I train residents. So I think it's that I get to come and I get to do the fun things.
Sounds pretty awesome.
If people want to find you or your work or cardiac education group, what website, where do they go to connect with you?
So cardiaceducationgroup.org, even if you just put cardiac education group into the Google search, it'll come up. There's obviously lovely resources there. We also speak at major meetings under that umbrella. So you'd see us at VMX next year and at probably at Western States as well. You can go to the Texas A&M website and look at stuff. You can probably just search my name in PubMed and find a lot of things I've done with various colleagues. So I think there's lots of ways to connect. I love doing media. I love webinars. I did one last night. I like going and doing face-to-face stuff too, because that's fun. So this is fun, right? I mean, it's really just about the fact that we have a great job, all of us actually, right? And we get to talk to people.
How do you take this infectious enthusiasm that you've brought here today to our podcast, which I really appreciate it? How do you take that, maintain it, and share it with your students, whether they're students at the CE events that you speak at or at the university? Is that just a natural innate thing, or have you cultivated and perfected it over the years?
I would say the strength of my passion for my work is mirrored in my personal life. I'm equally committed to life outside of veterinary medicine. And I like working out. I like training. I have dogs. I like to run them. I haven't raced for a while. I did a lot of triathlons. I think it's everything, right? It's like that whole. It's one picture, but most people are nice. Most people are good. So I don't know. It's hard not to be excited to have the opportunities that we have.
It's we talk a lot about different topics on our podcast, and a lot of the time we talk about the burnout of the industry and how everything is difficult. And your visit is naturally sort of a breath of fresh air. So I appreciate that. With that, we're running out of time as we usually do, and we ask two questions at the end. The first one: is there a book, TED Talk, TV show, anything that you would recommend people to be as inspired as you are?
So this comes down to that it's good to be silly too. I'm not a big fan of sequels, but Happy Gilmore 2 was so funny. Sometimes at the end of the day, you just need to laugh. And I enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of Adam Sandler anyway, but that was actually really fun. So I would recommend it.
Amazing. I love it. And then the last question is another innovator that you think we should have on our show.
I have spoke to a lot of people, and I have the opportunity to meet some really fabulous people. I was so impressed to meet one of the co-founders of Echo Health. Tyler Crouch is his name. He is incredibly intellectual, but you can just see the wheels. So if we're the users and the people who are thinking about how to use the tools, he's the person who's thinking about how do I go to the next step. I would say he would be a fun person to talk to.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.
Thanks for sticking around to the end of the episode. and thanks for being here. As I mentioned earlier, Talkatoo has a special offer for listeners of this podcast. If you're curious about how it works, Talkatoo is a suite of AI tools that makes note-taking faster and easier. You can record your entire appointment and get a SOAP note within seconds, completely automatically. Just review and approve. That's all you need to do. We also help with call summaries, discharge instructions, and many, many more. All of these things are done within seconds. Get full access to all of Talkatoo's powerful features for your first month for just $1. Sign up today at talkatoo.com/VIP. That's Talkatoo, TALKATOO.com/VIP.